I am Latoya Benton. Xavier Hill was my son. He was murdered by the state police on January the 9th, 2021.
Jamal Bird, he was murdered by DC Metropolitan Police in their custody. He died in their custody, and they claim that they don't know what happened. They had no business arresting him.
This is Life After the Impact, a podcast for impacted families by impacted families that focuses on what happens after the media, the lawyers, and the activists are gone. Impacted families are left to face the loss of a loved one to police-sponsored violence. We will focus on their continued fight for justice and how you can get involved.
Give me the one that just walks away. Watching police take another life today. Leaving loved ones torn, nothing left to say. Candles burning, all we do is pray. Yeah.
The Dante and Kobe resolution in Brooklyn Center is really important. We have pretty much the nation kind of watching us. We've got different cities coming and talking to us about the policy work that we're doing. We need Brooklyn Center to understand that the resolution needs to be passed as it was written. They are talking about pausing it, looking at legally stopping it. And it's not only important for Brooklyn Center, but we have all these people watching us, waiting and hoping that we're actually able to create a blueprint. When we were doing it, we looked at some of the other cities, right? And then we're going to be one of those cities that other people, but we can't be if we can't get it passed, or if they try to backtrack it, or they water it down and they take away the true intent of what was passed, and they're saying things like, well, it was passed so much in the heat of the moment, it was such a reactionary, but the amount of work that we've done, the community engagement, the legal that we brought in, the experts that we brought in, it's just like all the work is there.
So do we need folks to call the Minnesota, Brooklyn area? What do we need them to do?
Brooklyn Center, Minnesota City Council. Nicely, I like, I'm gonna kill them with kindness.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Roxanne Johnson. Son was Jamal Bird. He was killed by DC Metropolitan Police, October 1st, 2019.
Good evening, guys. My name is Latoya Benton. I am the mother of Xavier Hill. Xavier was killed by Virginia State Police at the age of 18, January the 9th, 2021. Tonight, we are honored to be joined by Ms. Dalphine. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Yes, my name is Dalphine Robinson, and I'm out of Atlanta, Georgia. My son, Jabril Robinson, was murdered at the age of 23 in Clayton County, Georgia, by a Clayton County officer. And I'm just here to, tell my story and let you guys know, what is going on here in Georgia, not only with Jabril, but numerous of victims of police brutality.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're glad you decided to join us. We're glad to have you this evening. Tell us a little bit about the background about what happened with Jabril.
So Jabril, he was visiting with his girlfriend. It happened on a Monday, on May 16, 2016. And he usually would, visit with her over the weekend. He didn't have a personal car, so I would drop him off, and then when he's coming home on that Monday, I would pick him up. Him and his girlfriend got into it, and they had, an altercation where she had threw some water on him. He had threw some water on her, but they was having a heated argument, and her mom called the police out. When her mom called the police out, Jabril left. He left walking because he did call me, but it was not around the time that he would usually call me for me to pick him up. So I was doing something else in the house. I missed the phone call. When I did get my phone, I looked and I said, Jabril called. Let me call and see what's going on. He must want me to pick him up. He did not answer. So I put the phone down. I said, well, he'll call back. I can't even say how many minutes after that, her father, his girlfriend's father called. And he said to me, like, you need to get over here, like, get over here. Jabril been shot. And at the time, he didn't say, he had been shot by the police. He didn't say who he was shot by. I immediately started frantically, moving around, trying to figure out where my keys were, what I was doing. I didn't have on any shoes and, just frantically trying to, get myself together to get to where he was. Never did it cross my mind that he had been shot by the police. When I got on the scene, I seen a bunch of like police cars, but before then, people were calling my phone saying, hey, I see on the news, they talking about Jabril was in a shootout with the police and Jabril got, shot by the police and this and that and this. And I'm like, in a shootout? Like, Jabril won't be in no shootout with the police. Like, that's nothing he would do, But I'm like, okay, I'm on my way to where they are. And immediately when I got there, when I got out the car and started to run up to the hill, because I could see like all the commotion, I could see his things on the ground scattered around. So when I immediately got there and tried to get up to where he was, I was stopped by the chief of police and by another officer. And they told me that Jabril had been taken to the hospital, that he had been shot, fatally. Well, they didn't say fatally. They said he had been shot and I needed to go to the nearest hospital, which was Southern Regional Hospital, right? Not too far from where he had been shot. So, I was asking them like, what happened, what was going on. And they was saying that I just needed to go to the hospital. They would talk, give me more information. And I got to the hospital. When I got there, the attendant at the desk didn't really have any information. She didn't even really know what was going on. And I said, well, I know my son got shot. He got shot by the police. So she set me in a room because she didn't know anything. She didn't know of him coming into the hospital or anything. So as I was sitting in the room, I could see out the window. They had the blinds. And I could see out the window and I see where the ambulance is backing in, and I could see, the police car, and I could see like a regular unmarked car, and I could see the police chief getting out of the car. So I told my husband at the time that was with me, I said, I think they just bringing Jabril here. He, I think they just bringing him here. So as I see all of this happening, I get up, go out the room, go back to the desk, and I'm like, look, I think they're bringing my son in now. Can somebody tell me what's going on? Is he dead or is he alive? Like, can you tell me, can I see my child? Let me see him. And the lady, she said, okay, I'm gonna get some information. My sister is a physician assistant. She worked at that hospital, but she was no longer working there, but she still could get information. So when she did get my call, she finally got my message. She called me and she said, I'm about to find out right now. And I'll let you know, I'm calling some people now. So my sister called. She said, sis, she said, they ain't supposed to give me this information. She was like, but they fatally wounded him. He's gone.
So the police didn't tell you, your sister tells you that he was gone?
And when I went back out to tell them, I was like, hey, I need to see my son. Like, I need to see him. I want to see him. They wouldn't allow me to see him. So the nurse came in with the chief, and she was like saying, oh, she was like, I regret to tell you. She was like, I did all that I could. I really, worked on him. I did all that I could. I said, okay, I just need to see him. Let me see him. Because how do I even know that's my child if I can't even, see him? And they was telling me, no, we can't let you see him. He's part of it's part of an investigation. I wasn't allowed to see his body. I wasn't allowed to see him. So, I left the hospital after they wouldn't allow me to see him. And I went to the girlfriend's house because I wanted to find out what actually
Happened.
happened, because I didn't know anything. And it was multiple things being said on the news.
Mhm.
Media is treacherous
Yeah.
for, you know, tearing our loved ones down.
The
And
villainize them, make them
yeah,
look like they're
and,
good villains. Yeah.
they're treacherous for doing that. So,
Mhm.
me dealing with this the first time and having to, really understand, what was going on, I had to go to the source of where, my son was the last place he was. When I got there, the girlfriend was frantic. She was like frantic. I had to actually calm her down because she was like, is he okay? And stuff like that. And I was like, no, he dead. I told her just like that. I said, so what happened? And she said, Ma, I swear, she said, he didn't do nothing. She's like, he didn't do nothing. She was like, we was arguing, we got into it. She was like, I threw water on him, he threw water on me. He left. And when they got here, we told them that he was already gone. We no longer needed their services. And they said that they were just gonna go through the neighborhood and to just make sure he was good.
So they went looking for him after the fact. They went and looked
After
for him
the fact. After
Mm.
the fact.
Mm.
And she
After they
saying,
said they were no longer needed, they still went looking for him after the fact.
right, after the fact.
So what happened with the officers after this happened? Were they indicted at all? What happened with the officers?
No, they was not indicted. After an investigation with the GBI, they contacted me and they said that I needed to contact the district attorney because they had did a investigation and they had turned everything over to her. And during this time, which I found out at a later point, during this time, the district attorney, she would not meet with me. She would set up meetings, but then cancel them. Like she did not never meet with me or the family, right? So I found out during this time it was some type of stuff going on with her, and I think her.
What's her name? What's her name?
Her name is Tracy Graham.
Okay.
So
She's the current one now?
Huh?
She's the current DA now for you
No,
guys?
she was the district attorney then.
Okay.
And she was doing, she was to be doing for 4 more years, but she did an early retirement and she was retiring during that time. Her retirement was her last time to be there was to be like in June. My son was killed in May. So his case was just closed out. And I never met with her. And during that time, they was going through where they had appointed, someone to be in her place until they elected someone else to come into office. So once they did, I did have a meeting with that district attorney, which is Tasha Mosley. She's the district attorney, today. Right. And I just think that Tasha Mosley, she didn't want to go back and look at my son's case, but she did give me some facts to, what had happened. And she kind of cleared up, some things. And then it was a lot of like conflict too in what she was saying, because she was saying that they said that Jabril had a gun. Then she said that it was a gun found on the scene, but it didn't have his fingerprints on it. Then she said that, and it had never been fired. The gun had never been fired. And then she said that, it was one officer, which 2 officers was involved.
So she can't give you guys complete information and stuff, then, right?
Yeah. So the first officer.
Let's fast forward a little bit. We're gonna fast forward this a little bit for what's going on with you guys today. Even though you're not indict the officers, right? Because I kind of stalked you a little bit. I follow you guys' work there in Georgia. I'm interested in know. I'm pretty sure the people who are listening to want to know the impact that has caused on you. Because you're a fighter. This happened in 2016. We are on 2023, and you are still going. Let's talk about some of these bills that you guys have come up with. I saw the billboard campaign Georgia moms are doing. I saw that. Let's talk about some of the legislation what you guys are doing and what bills you guys are trying to push right now to get passed in honor of him and many others as well.
Yeah. So we have several bills that we're pushing. We have HB 107, HB 112. HB 113 and HB 115. And HB 107 is the policing policy, the Police Accountability Act. And the Police Accountability Act is the bill that, we are pushing to have police held accountable, for misconduct when it comes to, the citizens, So that bill is very important. And then we have the Ethical Policy Act that we're pushing as well. And also we have Preventing Tragedies Between Police and Communities Act. So we have, and then the Racial Profiling Act, because, a lot of times because of the way that young men look and because of the way that they dress, they are racially profiled. They are targeted. So when I had spoke with my state rep, Sandra Scott, me and her talked about that. So she is the one that put these bills together. And we talked about, my son and how he was racial profile even before this happened, and how I was speaking to you guys about how he had dreads and then now he don't have them anymore, about how he changed the way that he just the way he dressed and everything about him, because he had been profiled several times before he actually was murdered by the police. So that was a big importance for me, is to push that bill. And she did name Jabril in that bill along with other loved ones that had been murdered by the police here. So we had been lobbying at the down at the I can't get my words, I'm sorry. Down at the state capitol, and we had been lobbying for these bills where we stood in. I think it was about 6 of us parents, where we stood in every day with our posters of our children, and we lobbied for these bills. And then on the last day that we lobbied, we had a press conference, and on that press conference, we was able to express, what these bills stood for and how we wanted to push them, through because of, our loved ones. And we went into specifics, so we got a lot of people were everywhere. Like, people would just see me, coming into my job, and they would be like, "Hey, I saw you on the news. What you're doing is right." You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know your son got killed. Hey, if I could do anything. And I was just telling them, like, hey, help us push these bills, push them through, lobby with us, you know what I'm saying? Because I can't bring Jabril back. Jabril is gone. But if I can prevent it from happening to anyone else, this would be, the best thing for me. It would be part of my healing, because it's nothing I can do. My son is gone, but I could make sure that accountability is held, and that these officers are acting appropriately when they come in contact with these young Black men and women.
That's right. That's right.
You
So
know,
what are the status? What's the status of these bills that you named, Ms. Dalphine? Where are they
okay.
as legislature?
Okay, so I think that sessions is over on the 31st. And I think the bill 107 and 113, I'm not quite sure, but those bills was pushed back. So some of the bills did get carried over, but we was just waiting to hear from we was waiting to hear from, we have a representative that's working with us, so we was waiting to hear from her as to where the bill stood. And I think the 31st is the last day of sessions, as so I was told. And but even with that, like, okay, so say the bills don't get passed and they don't go into, it doesn't stop anything. You know what I'm saying? You still have to keep pushing for, accountability. You still have to keep pushing for, for officers just to be held accountable, and for them to learn how to work with their community. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we still have to be pushing for that. So our job don't stop just at that. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to the bills, like, we are still as we speak, I was on a Zoom call last night talking about what's the next step. You know what I'm saying? So we're constantly each week on Zoom talking about what's our next step. How are we gonna put this in their face? You know what I'm saying? How are we gonna keep pushing and keep going? You know what I'm saying? Because even with the bills, like, a lot of times, even with certain things in place, they still don't act accordingly. So
Oh,
we still have to be, you
hold them
know,
accountable.
yeah, and making them be held accountable. Like,
So tell me this real fast too. Let's talk about when y'all talk about the bills, because we've had somebody else on the podcast too as well who said they've gotten bills they introduced as well. What is the first step? Would it be to contact your state representative when you say that? What do you mean? Is it the part like in Congress? Like who did y'all go to in your state that was going to
well,
help you out to get something
it
passed?
was my rep in my county, where my son was killed.
Okay.
I no longer live in that county, but do have a home in that county, so I can still, vote there and do all of those things. So my thing was to get with my county rep, where my son was murdered, which was Clayton County, and to speak with her and to talk with her about, what I felt and what I thought would be, you know, some steps to, seeing some change. And I would think that that would be the best thing because it's so many different levels. And I think working with your county rep, that would get you, like get you a foot in the door. When I spoke with her, me and her just really, had a conversation and we talked about, the loved ones that had been murdered by police and how the interaction was and how it was a lot of it was a lot of connections to it, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, that was what I did, you know what I'm saying, with my state rep. And then we spoke with some people that we had connected in the past that was now working in the state capitol. And we were like, okay, this is what we want to do. This is how we just got together, got on a Zoom, told them what we want to do and how we want to do it. And then they went from there and started implementing things. And then we kept having the Zooms and implementing things on how we was going to push it, who was going to push it to, and, so far and so forth.
Either your
So,
county representative or your state representative.
your state representative.
Get in touch with them and basically them holding them accountable as your representative. You're their constituent, which a lot of us don't really understand that. We just
Right.
vote and we move on, but we need to vote and then hold these people accountable for putting forth a legislature that's going to help our community. That's what I hear you saying, right?
Right.
But we're all about action on this podcast. We like to hear about what people are doing, but we also like to hear about ways that people can get involved in what you're doing down there in Georgia. So help us out with that.
Well,
Yep.
I would say, if people want to get involved, what I'm saying, to just like, contact some of the mothers that are here, what I'm saying, look for our change of actions, what I'm saying, sign our petitions if we have petitions, what I'm saying, and just, follow us in what we're doing. If you have any information how we can better what we're doing, or if, in your state or your city, you have done what we're trying to do and you have some steps that you can, bring to us to make it clearer or better for us, then I mean, that's how, we network and we come together and do for each other. So I think that that would be something good, that people can do, especially, in this era of this fight and what we're doing,
Working
for
together.
change.
And we put the
Mhm.
call to
Yeah, like
action
you
on
said,
the
connecting.
Yep. We've put the call to action on the screen for justice for Jabril Robinson. Call District Attorney Tasha Mosley. Look, call her, y'all. Call her. It'll take you less than 5 minutes. The man that she reopened Jabril Robinson's case, and the man that she give his belongings to his mama. Good.
Right.
grief. What kind of
Yeah. Yep, stating that the case is closed and then telling me that I can't have his belongings because
Crazy.
they're part of an investigation.
you know?
So, I mean, that's contradicting contradiction within itself. You understand what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So
Mhm.
if the case is closed on
While
anything,
keeping
you're
stuff.
allowed to take your personal items and walk
Mhm.
away, but they will
Mhm.
not give me my son personal items. Yeah.
That's crazy. So
Yeah.
crazy. You guys, in closing real fast, I want to reiterate one more time, as far as like we always say, we are a working podcast, and we mean by that. Even if somebody's watching right now, and we're trying to reach out to more families who are actually working, I watch Dalphine's page all the time, because I want to know what's going on. And as we all know, I live in Virginia. She's in Georgia. Roxanne's up the road from me in Maryland. But what I'm saying is where we all in different states, we can all take knowledge from each other. The whole thing is she expresses that we have to learn how to share information. Even if the roadmap is not the exact same, it's very similar in other areas. So she's a state representative, right? Get in contact with them and hold people accountable. They're coming out here, coming to the church, they come to city council, they ask for the votes and stuff. That's fine, but still hold people accountable to what they got voted into place.
And
Last
your
but not
mayor, even
go
your
ahead.
mayor.
And the
I
mayor,
said-
yeah.
Yeah.
And as I
'cause
see on here, we got the call of action for Jabril Robinson. Be sure to call Tasha, hit Tasha up tomorrow. Give her a phone call tomorrow. You guys, the number here is on the screen. Be sure to give her a phone call tomorrow in regards to Jabril's case.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for having me
Of course,
tonight.
of course. All right, you guys. Now, last but not least, Sophie, if you could please throw up on the screen the call of action for tomorrow. As y'all know, tomorrow. I look, last time I kept saying it all wrong. I kept saying Tuesday. It's actually Wednesday. So tomorrow is Xavier's court case. We're going to civil court. You guys, it has been a long time coming. Just to reiterate again, back in April of last year is when the attorney who I had dropped the case and decided not to file Xavier's case. I said I'm going to go and make sure I file this case. We filed it pro se. The judge allowed the case to go ahead and move through. We have what's called so pretty much what a motion of summary judgment is this. The police are trying to throw my case out. That's what that means. In layman's terms, they're trying to get rid of my case. So we're asking anybody who is in Richmond tomorrow to please show up at 10 o'clock and help us pack the courthouse. It is imperative that the community understands, that the judge understands that the community is concerned about not only Xavier's case, but making policy change across the board. So please, you guys, we show up tomorrow at 10 o'clock and support for Justice for Xavier.
Yes.
Yes. And can I just add this to Latoya, that a lot of injustice happens in empty courtrooms.
That's right.
And I don't know about you, you know, most of us have either had loved ones or may have been involved in the injustice systems ourselves. Let us start to be the eyes and ears and show up, put our bodies on the line in that way. Make a sacrifice and come, you know, if you can, be there, because when people see that we are serious about showing up, they can't just shuck and jive, because it's too many of us sitting there witnessing the shucking and jiving.
That's right. Like I said, I watched a thing yesterday. I heard a new word. I'm going to try to say it. It was called participatory defense.
Yeah.
And the guy had iterated about like all the criminal defense side or whatnot. People go to court for criminal things or whatever, as far as like going putting a sentence or whatever. He was saying the importance of the community being there and how important. He was saying sometimes when empty courtrooms are there, the judge was like, well, no one cares about this case, you know? So that is super important.
Yeah, that's true. And that's even true because I have 4 sons and I've been to court with one of my sons, and just for me to be there, you know, be in place in representation for my son, that made a difference.
Right. That's right.
You know, so yeah, we need to support each other. We need to pack these courthouses for every case. You know what I'm saying? We need to be there because that's the way we're gonna implement change. Understand it. So
yeah, and show them we mean business. They not gonna get away with this. Not gonna keep killing our children, and we not
getting away with it.
You're getting away with it. Yeah.
It's getting away with it.
Definitely think that they're getting away with it. They definitely think that. That's why they continue to keep doing it.
That's right.
Right, people aren't consistent in a fight, you know, the follow has to be there, you gotta consistently keep doing things and whatnot, that's the main thing, being, like I said, your case happened in 2016, we are in 2023, and you are still actively fighting,
Oh,
so
yeah.
it don't stop.
I could never stop. You know, I know people that have cases for 13 years, 10 years, 15 years, and they still out here doing what they got to do. So at the end of the day, how could I stop? I can't ever stop, right? So, mhm.
All
So
right, you guys, so that's it, Roxanne?
Yeah. Thanks for coming on and sharing with us, Ms. Delphine. And we
okay.
definitely want to support you as much as we can. We're gonna call Miss Tasha Mosley tomorrow, and anything else you please keep in contact with us and let us know what's going on.
Okay, and I thank y'all so much. Thank you for having me.
You're
Of
welcome.
course, of course.